This is the Air Jordan 14. Let's take our time in talking about it. Time is a funny thing. It's often viciously fast. Seconds become hours all of a sudden. Days bleed into nights and years rush by. So much of life's sweetest details get lost in this mess of speed. To be clear, no thoughts here concern man-made time. No clocks under consideration. To explore the experience of time, rather, is to examine how we as humans soak up the milliseconds that make up the biggest moments of our lives. We can search for an extension of the fleeting emotions that we don't fully feel. Because time does seem to slow down in the very biggest moments. Almost like time itself is choosing to savor what it deems worthy of more attention. There are many moments that can be viewed as time telling us to understand the present of the present. Very famously, NBC's longtime play-by-play man Bob Costas began possibly the most famous call of the 20th century by marking it in time. 17 seconds, he said immediately after Michael Jordan stole the ball from Karl Malone in Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals. 17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. That was his call. And then the seconds melted away. 17 became 8.9 when Jordan began his drive from the left wing to the middle of the floor. MJ then found himself open with 7 seconds remaining, and Costas' voice rose in decibels when describing how much daylight number 23 had created with the slight push-off of Brian Russell. Then the clock stopped at 5.2, right after Mike swished the very last shot of his career with the Chicago Bulls. Jordan stood still, in time and space, after that swish. For just over 1 second, he held his follow-through up high. Maybe he knew what time had figured out. Maybe he was savoring. Maybe time itself had told Mike to enjoy that last shot. The memories and the images from June 14, 1998 have lived on for far longer than just 17 seconds. That's another funny thing about time, how it exists in memory. Those final seconds brought many people at the Delta Center to their feet. To this day, all those Jazz fans and those few Bulls fans in attendance will be able to share their own stories of how life slowed down for them while watching Jordan's mastery of time. Millions of others were watching around the world, each now in possession of their own relationship to that shot, their very own memory of those same 17 seconds. Many of those fans will now know which pair of Air Jordans were on feet for one of the most significant highlights in NBA history. But they were mysterious back then, blacked out with red hits. And remember, this is way before the internet and social media made it easy for people to see which shoes were on feet for everything. They definitely weren't the Air Jordan 13, and the mainstream concept of retros was still a few years away from happening. So it wasn't the return of something old. It wasn't until the very first issue of Kicks, our magazine, came out a handful of months later that people finally got to see the Air Jordan 14 in full. Our first issue showed them the 14's high-class luxury up close. At first, it was just the black and red. It wouldn't be given its famous name until way later. Yeah, he wore the black and red to end his time with the Bulls, and it made use of a leather upper and suede detailing. It was inspired by Money's Ferrari 550M. The 14 side vents and diamond logo were direct callbacks to the speed of Enzo's whips. In the 25 years since he won his final chip, and since we showed the world this sneaker, the last shot Air Jordan 14 has become a defining pillar of history. Way beyond all the tech and all the materials, the story of Michael Jordan can't be told without it. It's funny how long 17 seconds can last, isn't it? I'm Max Resitar, and that's the Soul Connection.